What's up, guys? Today, I have a story about a Venezuelan family. They're financially struggling very hard, and their brother is caught in a deep hard spot. However, OP's wife decides to come up with a genius idea to get a large amount of money very quickly. Make sure you listen to the end to see what the husband's reaction to this was. My wife and I were always a team. At least that's what I used to think. We come from humble families, both of us have been seen better days. But the economy in our country has been in a downward spiral, with few breathing moments since almost 20 years. Things got ugly over here in the past 10 years, though. We live in Venezuela and dared and have children in such a harsh place to make a life. But we did, and each day we gave our best to keep things marching forward. In the beginning of the year, we found out that my wife was pregnant again. We already had a 2-year-old boy. We were doing everything we could to keep him well fed and to buy his clothing, diapers, and toys. But I must admit that I've been through a rough year. I work as a freelance accountant for a local company and individuals, but things were moving pretty slow. My wife worked as a party decorator, and between both of our efforts, we managed to get by. Barely. When I got the news, I could not help but get worried. I know both of our incomes would suffice, plus now we had to be aware of each doctor's appointment and each one of the medicines and indications he would give us in order to keep our unborn child healthy. I spent nights without sleep, wondering how I would be able to find an extra income. I considered looking for another job, perhaps as a handyman, painting houses, doing small construction work. My nerves were a mess at this point. I managed to find a few of these jobs and did score some extra money. I used to leave the house at 7 a.m. and got back at 10 p.m. completely exhausted. Even though my sleep schedule was wrecked, I rested easy knowing that I was receiving enough money to keep us afloat. Then, one day, my wife received a call from her brother. He's a man some years younger than me, he's around his early 30s, who decided to leave the country and try his luck at a different work, to send money to his daughter and wife, both of which ended up living at my father-in-law's home, the same house that we all share. He appears 4 or 5 times in the year through a phone call, and from time to time he sends a little money to his family. Still, his wife is in the obligation of finding money by her own means, since at this point she can't really rely on him to support them. This time, he appeared with news that shocked the entire family. "Sis, I'm at the Darien Gap, trying to cross to Panama and reach the US. I need money to get through this." My wife was devastated to hear this, and so was everyone. The Darien Gap is somewhat uncivilized jungle territory that connects Colombia with Panama. It's the den of hundreds of criminal groups in Latin America that engage in drug trafficking, human trafficking, and guerrilla warfare. It's also known that several indigenous tribes live there and tend to attack people that they see around to steal their stuff. These past 3 years, the Darien Gap has gained notoriety for being one of the crossing points for Latin American illegal immigrants to reach Panama and make their way to the US after crossing all of Central America. The number of people that cross it goes from around 100,000 people per year, mostly Venezuelans in precarious situations that go there looking for a way to improve their life and the lives of their family by living in America. But the casualties left by people going through this route are nothing short of horrible. Lately, many videos of people retelling their experience have gone viral, and the things that they see, well, they're traumatizing. Corpse laying everywhere, old people left behind by their families, encounters with savage animals, diseases, critical wounds, muggings, and all sorts of human misdeeds and misery. I could not help but worry about him since he is the brother of my wife. But deep down I disapproved his choice. He did not check with his family nor anyone before taking a decision so endangering for his life. And from one minute to another, he just decides to call and ask for money. He didn't even stop for a second to consider if we were in a position to send him the money he was asking for. But there wasn't anything left to do. He was already there, lying in the hands of destiny. From one minute to another, he could become another casualty of the gap, and denying him any help would only worsen his chances. I sat there and began to contemplate our options. I called my brothers and sisters to know what they did think of this whole issue. At one point, I even considered doing the same, cross that Darien gap, but after some alone consideration, I decided it was not worth the risk. And now, there I was, figuring out how to help someone that went and did it carelessly. My brother agreed with me, but in the end, something was needed to be done about it. They suggested we went and asked around for donations, since I had told them we weren't financially prepared to give him that kind of money he needed. We were talking a sum of money of about $3,000, a sum that, in our current conditions, would take us around half a year to acquire. And that's every month is a good work month for both of us. With all these conditions we were facing, I had to agree that it was the only thing we could do. Go around and ask for money from our friends and the people on the internet. Rely on the goodwill of strangers and such. Little did I know that my wife had other plans. That day, in the middle of the night, I went back to our room and found my wife counting a big ol' stack of money. I was shocked, but did my best to remain calm. There must have been around $3,000. The precise amount to get her brother out of the mess that he's gotten himself into. I asked her, "Hey, where'd you find that money?" She just looked at me kind of nervous, but dominant at the same time. I had a good couple of months working not so long ago and managed to round up this. I felt sort of betrayed, I must say. I couldn't gather up the courage to tell her. But in a way, I felt like I was working my butt off for the children and her sake without it being needed. Suffering headaches from not eating enough just so her and my child could have enough food on their tables. All of this while she was amassing this sum of money without my knowledge. I didn't say anything and went to sleep. The next day, I went out of the house, told my brother I needed to meet him, and went to his place. I explained what I've seen last night, and he was just as shocked as I was. He's been a counseling voice of mine for a long time, and I trusted his judgment in these kind of things. He told me that there was no possible way for her to be amassing that quantity of money in just a couple months. And given the case that she was, it was obvious that she was not being honest with me about her finances. Even though the writing was on the wall, hearing it from someone else really helped me open my eyes. I'd been working my butt off and trusting her with every aspect of my life while she was hiding things from me, and I could not just let that slip. That day, I went back straight to our house at around 3 p.m., something I did not used to do on the weekdays. And whenever I did, I usually told my wife, so that explains what I encountered. When I went to the door of our room, I could hear a camera clicking and shooting photography. Something that seemed really odd to me. I started to worry. My anxiety was already kicking in since I was about to confront my wife, but the whole set of strange noises coming out of our room unsettled me. When I opened the door, I discovered my wife in bed, using set of an expensive-looking white lingerie, posing to a camera hooked to a tripod and a ring light. I've never seen her like that. My face turned red in anger since I thought she was in there with someone, and she could notice. She immediately covered herself in surprise and asked me to calm myself down while I began asking in a loud manner if anyone was in the room with her. She started shushing me and asking me not to make so much noise, that our kid and everyone else was in the house. I quickly opened the closet and looked down the bed just in case, while she told me that she promises there's no one else with her. Then I asked her, "Well then, what the hell's going on?" She told me to calm down, and I remained in silence, looking at her with an intense look while she slowly began explaining. She told me that a friend of her had involved in a website some months ago. I could feel the blood boiling inside of my head, thinking of all sorts of things. She continued and told me that in this website, men used to pay to buy sets of pictures of women in lingerie, and told me she got involved with it, and that's how she's been managing to save money. I could not believe it. While I was out working every day, my wife spent her afternoons posing in expensive lingerie that I've never seen her wear, but some random dudes on the internet apparently did. I can't believe you hid this from me, I told her. Do you have any idea how hard I've been working to just barely bring enough food for all of us at the table? And while I was doing that, you were amassing this kind of money without even telling me a thing. She told me she did not think I needed to know, that it was her hard-earned money after all, and that besides, she had her own plans for spending it. This opened up my eyes. I'd seen clues before of her selfishness, about the way she talked to me or acted, but I've put everything aside behind my own illusion of marriage. She had always been manipulative and dominant, acting like she was the one who had the last word in our lives, and, well, to some extent, I let her be like that. I thought to myself, I let her because of love, but it suddenly hit me it was at some point all out of fear. I could not stand it anymore. This was not the marriage I thought it would be. I asked her, since she was doing this and she adopted her usual dominant tone, and spoke to me if I was incapable of anything. She told me she had around a month and a half doing this, and that she was not planning to stop anytime soon. It was too profitable for her. That's what she said. I asked her how much she's been making per month. She told me around $5,000. She lit a cigarette and looked me straight in the eyes, like waiting to see what I was going to do about it. I took it out of her mouth and put it out and said, I can't believe it. You are smoking, even though you're carrying our child. What's gotten into you? She told me it was the daily cigarette. I told her, I can't have this. I can't have this anymore. It is obvious I don't play any role in your life. I can't begin to tell you how betrayed I feel about this. She stood up and told me, so, what are you going to do? You're going to leave like your father did? I am the mother of your son and your unborn child. You have no choice in this, and at the end of the day, you have to do as I tell you, and that's the end of it. I'm taking my child, I told her. Try anything and I'll call the cops. Just try to take him away, and let's see how this will affect him when he grows up. Yes, I know you don't care about anything but yourself. I now know, but don't worry. I'll figure this out, is what I told her as I left my brother's house. In the end, several months passed, and I could not let this just go under the rug. I filed for divorce, and recently I got the notice that I would be keeping custody of my child. I found an old childhood friend that helped me get back on my feet. We started our own accountant company and managed to sign a deal with a supermarket company that's let us perceive great revenue in these past few months. Today, it seems like destiny was begging me to take that woman out of my life, and I'm so grateful I got the opportunity to open my eyes and strengthen my life. The ironic thing from this whole issue is that, apparently, the man that detonated this whole sudden change in my life, my ex-brother-in-law, never even went to the Darien Gap. He just asked for the money and spent it on a business project he had in Ecuador, and apparently it did not even go well since I heard he was calling for money again. Okay, so I want your opinion on this situation. Just let me know in the comments down below. Do you think OP was in the right for leaving his wife because of this? Or do you think that she just found a really good way to make money? Let me know your thoughts about this. I would love to hear everyone's opinions. Drop it down below, and we're going to turn our attention to the next story of the day. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my mother-in-law when she ate my snacks and got way too intoxicated? If you're new to the channel, please click that subscribe button and let's jump into story number 2. My wife and I just moved back to her hometown. We love living in a big old city, but we've agreed when we got married that we would start a family and we would move to a smaller town. It sort of sucks, but I'm only 45-minute drive from a theater and good restaurants. It's not like we're in the middle of the woods. By the way, we live in Canada and weed is fully legal here. I like to make weed butter and cook with it. It makes brownies or fudge, and my wife and I both partake. Well, her not so much right now because she's breastfeeding. My wife insisted that we give her mom a key for emergencies. I disagree, but I lost that vote. So we talked about it, and I said I was fine with it, but it was only for emergencies. She was not to use it to come over and clean up or anything like that. So her mom agreed, and we gave her the key. Well, she followed the rules for about 2 months, and my wife's out of town in the city for the weekend visiting friends. Since it's a 2-hour drive to the city, she's just staying there. I came home last night and found my mother-in-law high as a kite in my living room. She had decided that since my wife was out of town, I needed a home-cooked meal. Well, one thing led to another, and she found some fudge. She was so high, all she was doing was staring at the TV. It wasn't even on. Yeah, indica will do that to you. I called my wife and laughed my butt off, and she's giving me crap for letting her mom do that, and for laughing at her mom. Well, mother-in-law is currently resting in the guest bedroom. My wife's stepdad came to get her, but she's not moving. We had a few beers and watched the Jays get destroyed. She came into our home, ate my stuff without permission. I'm not really upset. She is super helpful, and she's always been nice to me, though. I just think it's hilarious. But my wife says I'm an a-hole for laughing at her mom. So let me know in the comments what you think. Well, guys, I expected the comments to say OP should not have laughed at her. However, the entire comment section was saying OP's not the a-hole because mother-in-law broke in without permission. They said laughing was okay, but I want to know what you guys think. Was it too hard for OP to laugh at mother-in-law, or did he have every right? Drop your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's content. I hope you will have an amazing day. Try something new you've always wanted to try, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Have an amazing day.